start off by saying, Kelly, I got to tell you, thank you for putting this thing together. You've already gone above and beyond with the presentation. It's just, I'm excited. And if you couldn't tell all week long, I've been super excited talking about it. And I think it's just going to be awesome. Regardless, it's just going to be awesome.
I hope so. I hope that, with some of the posts that I have done, over the last several weeks after getting a printer and trying to figure this out, that I think Khan's having trouble getting in. Hold on. Someone just Facebooked me.
Who is?
Is this Nick Khan? Hold on. I'm sending it now.
Send it now.
Give me a second. So, yeah, I'm super excited to be able to share it because there's a lot of information. And I see with all the different groups that a lot of us are involved in, one of the big questions I'm seeing is how do I make my own? Or
right.
I see people go, well, I need a letter, and if only you could make a letter just to get you through the night or something. I mean, I know you've taught us a lot with, cutting coroplast, printing on vinyl, cutting vinyl, H-stakes, everything like that. I think this kind of just adds to what we need to do for our business. To one, customize the yard greeting, and two, fill the need. If you need, if you're doing 5 or 6 yard greetings and you're missing a letter, maybe you can print it real quick or do something that'll just make it really cool or fun. So
yeah, I would agree. And I think what compelled me, and I was so fired up when we first connected, was that, like, believe it or not, this isn't one of those kind of things where you could just be like, I'm going to buy a printer and I'm going to start. Like, to your point,
correct.
Like, you have to investigate to see whether or not there's the right inks. And it's a whole crazy industry in and of itself. And it's not as simple as buying coroplast and putting, spray painting it. There's a lot more that goes into it. And not knowing what those dynamics are, you could buy a printer that just you can't even use because it's just not going to be, you're not going to be able to use it because of the ink and whatever. So I think that a lot of people are super excited because I would agree, having more options about stuff like this is absolutely integral, and to be more customized and to be different and to just be sort of your own kind of like problem solver is what I like the most about what you've done. And I'm super excited. I know I have a lot more to learn, and I'm sure everybody does as well. So I'll say thank you, Kelly. I'm super excited. Let me just turn this over to you.
Okay.
And you got free reign, and I'll chime in when necessary, and it's just going to be a conversation. So I'm excited, man. Let's make this happen.
I'm excited too. So, like what we're talking about is we're printing from home, and like Greeneck said, you guys, for the last few weeks, I've been researching printers, and you see a couple other people in our groups that have the nice big printers, and they're printing 4 feet of 4x8 material, nice cute little letters. And I know we're all sitting there going, well, how do I do that? So I'm the kind of person that I'll just research and go spend the money. I don't care. And that's
right.
What I did. So as some of you have seen in the Sign Fairies group, I have an HP DesignJet 500 inkjet printer, and I've been using that to test with to get an idea what to do, how to print the graphics, this, that, and the other. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. There's a lot of frustration getting it to work because it is a 16-year-old printer. It is an inkjet, so I did have to learn that because it's an inkjet, which is a water-based ink, that it's going to run. It doesn't last very long. And of course, then even throughout our own Berry group, some of the girls that have those printers or other printing companies that are with us, they talk about the eco-solvent printers and this, that, and the other. So I had to dig deeper into, did I make the right decision in buying this printer? So I did put a little presentation together. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the reason why, and I just want to say, can you guys still see me?
Yeah.
The reason why this all started is I've been doing yard greetings for about 16 years, on and off. I had my very first yard greeting. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I actually owned a bounce house company where I rented out bouncy houses to people.
Right.
And I added a yard greeting to make it a package deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they, my customers loved the yard greeting. The smiley face yard greeting in the top left-hand corner is the one I had. That's the same yard greeting I've used for 16 years, on and off. People who knew me would like, hey, can you put this up for me? I never turned it into a bigger business than what it was, just because my life got super busy.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell all of you that if it wasn't for Reneck, believe it or not, dude, you crack me up. So in August of this year, so I ordered more yard greetings from a gentleman in Michigan. And then 2 weeks later, I found your YouTube video. Never in a million years. So I think I would have been sitting here talking to you through doing this. I found your YouTube video. I spent the entire afternoon watching every single one of your videos, laughing so freaking hard and going, you are doing exactly what I wanted to do 5 years ago with my 1 yard greeting.
Right.
And to add to it, I didn't know how.
Right.
So you have opened this up, not just for me, for quite a few people. So, it's all your fault. I'm in trouble over here on my side of the world because I've spent a lot of money. Spent a lot of money.
Yes.
And I had to go back to work at UPS to make up the money to pay for all it. This is awesome. I mean, you are absolutely correct. And all the things that you've said is, you've got to take care of your customers. You want to customize your yard greetings. You want to be there in the morning. We're yard ninjas, man. We get in, we get out, and our job is to make people happy. And, and Biffette, where'd Biffette go? Biffette's gone. So, that's how this started, you guys. So as you can see in the background, I've increased my yard greeting. I've been adding some flair. And if you notice in a couple of the pictures, I don't know if you can still see them. Notice in a couple of the pictures. Yep. Okay, the one on the right, I actually made that football, the one that says James. I just wanted to show you guys that you can do this at home. So I made the football and the little Cleveland Browns sign to go with that new yard greeting I got.
Yep.
And then down at the very bottom for the honk, it's Ben's 40th birthday. There's a chef. He is a chef. So I made a little chef guy, and I was able to customize a yard greeting for, my clients because I think that's important.
I agree.
So let me talk a little bit about the different types of printing that all of you are familiar with right now. And I just kind of wanted to cover it.
Do it.
Hold on. Somebody's messaging me. I hope they're in there. Is Con in the room with us? CON?
All right, hold on. Let me check.
Okay. Real quick before I go on.
We got 19. Let's see. We got Scotty. Armando's here. Trinidad's here. Well,
we know Trinidad's here.
I know. We have user 03885. If that
could be him. Okay, cool.
All right.
Yeah, that might be him or them. Okay. So as you guys have gotten, we're all yard carders now at this point. Some of you have gotten, yard cards that are already printed on vinyl and they're like giant stickers and they're stuck on Coroplast.
Yep.
And some of you are getting the inks directly printed on the Coroplast. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about that because I think it's important for all of us to know the difference.
Yep.
So direct print to Coroplast is a giant machine. It's a UV ink specialized in doing these types of boards. And one of the reasons why I don't have the machine is it's like $28,000 starting. And that's a small machine, like an 18-inch by 18-inch.
Yep.
They're not cheap. I know we have a couple groups that use direct to print. And that, and a couple graphic companies that we're working with. And that's great. And they have their pros and cons. And that's what I kind of wrote in here in this screen, if you guys can see it. They're not cheap machines. So if you don't have the money, I don't even waste your time researching it because I already did. They can range from $10,000 to $100,000. They're direct print. They're flatbed type printers. They're hard to find used.
Don't they? They burn it in there, right?
Well, I think it's what it does is it goes right over the top, and then it has like this way of drying it with UV light.
Okay.
It just dries it right on top of it. You've got a couple yard greetings. I know most of my new ones I bought have that direct to print. So I just wanted everybody to be aware that direct to print is nice. it's inexpensive. It allows this to be an inexpensive business, but they tend to scratch easier, and you got to be super careful with them when you're setting them up, throwing them in your car, throwing them around, because they scratch easy and they're not easy to replace.
Correct.
So I just wanted you to know that if you are looking for a direct print printer, they're not easy to find used. You'll most likely end up buying one new, and I put the price range in there, and like I said, they're not cheap. They usually come in a matte finish. I would recommend, if you do have some direct print yard cards, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, is you laminate the top of them. That'll give you some more life out of those type of, and it'll help scratch resistant. Sandy says she can't hear me. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I just wanted to, I'll touch base on that, on that in a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch base on that one. Now the next one, and I even put a couple pictures down there of what a UV printer would look like. And as you can see, they print pretty fast.
Yep.
And they're large. They're very, very large printers. My HP 500 takes up half my living room. So
they're very big,
yeah.
and they're not light either. So they're surprisingly really heavy, right?
No, they're very heavy. In fact, the one I'm looking at a new one, and he says it weighs like 900 pounds. I'm like, oh, okay. Perfect. I don't know how I can't get that in the back of my Buick.
Right, but I need a dually for that one.
He's like, bring a truck.
and a crane.
And a crane, exactly. So, Sandy, if you're having trouble, I would probably log out and then maybe log back in and see if that helps you, hon.
And Sandy, you might be on mute. You never know.
Right, check your mute. So then the next type of printing, and that's the printing we're going to talk more about, is the print to vinyl, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to take the printer, print it on a nice piece of adhesive vinyl, cut it all out, or use a cutting machine, and then place it on your coroplast. Cut your coroplast out and make your Flair that way. That's called, either print to vinyl. It is less expensive. It can be less expensive. The vinyl gets expensive depending on the type of vinyl that you're getting. But the thing is if you're going to make these types of investments, you want them to last a long time. I mean, my yard card's been going strong for 16 years. Right. They're just dirty. All I had to do was wipe them off. Nothing's peeling, and nothing was fading. And they do show some wear and tear as far as the plastic's concerned, but the vinyl itself is holding up. So, and these printers are expensive to buy too brand new. However, you can find them used because graphic shops are always updating their printers. So like the printer that I got, the HP DesignJet 500, which is pictured in the bottom left-hand corner, I got that for $300.
How epic is that?
It's epic. Oh my God. I showed you, I got some videos in our Sign Fairies class. It is so fun to print. It is because when you create it on your software and then you're printing it, and then you go to cut, like all that graduation one I did. Yeah, they loved it. It was, and then you share it. You just have the sense of, wow, I did something cool and nobody else has this.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that's one of the great things about the group, and what I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to sort of have is the ability. Listen, if you're an entrepreneur and you're in the yard sign business, you should figure out how all your costs are being tabulated. And if you're going to use vinyl, if you're going to use, the type of print to vinyl that we're talking about here, these are additional options that all of us can leverage at, any time. And having access to that is ideal. So I love it.
Well, yeah, and it's an upsell as well. So, you got Mrs. Smith down the street that calls you up on the phone and says, little Johnny's birthday is, and, if they give you enough lead time, little Johnny's birthday's next weekend, and I'd like to have a picture of him. Yep. Or you, for your business, you suggest, Mrs. Smith, you know what I can do for you? I can make this yard greeting so much more special. I can even add a picture of Johnny in the yard greeting. Awesome. It's $25 extra for me to do that. Just send me over a picture. You print it out. You put it on coroplast, and they get to keep it. I mean, how cool is that?
It's awesome.
It's perfect, along with the balloons.
Yeah.
So imagine if you are doing a standard yard greeting anywhere from $75 to $95.
Yep.
You add $25 more onto that for a picture, and then you add $50 more for balloons. Okay, you went from a $75 yard card to $130 to $150.
And that's what we want everybody to have the option of being able to do, is that, listen, you can make pretty good money, doing the yard card stuff. But, why not make more if you have somebody on the phone when you're providing more options to your point? And
correct.
And it makes it, you would be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't at least ask for it. Right. So
right. And it doesn't take long.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long to make it. I mean, if you're not creating an entire theme, now I've created a couple themes,
right.
Where you put, 5 or 6, 7, 8, 15 different pieces, and I've spent literally 2 days cutting stuff out. I mean, that's exhausting. Right. Yeah, you need a cutter for that. I mean, everything's hand cut. Crazy.
David's got one.
But when I did like the graduation smiley faces, there were 7 of them. It took me half a day. No big deal. Mm-hmm. But then I was so happy because, who graduates in the middle of August? Nobody.
Right. Nobody.
Right. So, right. So those printers, and what you want to do is when you try to find yourself a used printer, you're looking for wide format printers. That's what they're called. Anything over 24 inches. And I'm going to get into that too as far as size is concerned. David says he's got 3 printers.
Yeah, he's got
awesome.
He's got them all. He's got them all. Yeah.
He's probably got all the nice ones, all the big ones, but for doing home, but and if you've got a regular home printer, you can still provide customer service with something smaller, right. Regular inkjet printer or your regular desk tech printer. Now this inkjet 500 is only 24 inches. So I can only go so wide. I can go long, but right. You can only go so wide. And he's got cutters. And that's something you've got to look for. So
let me ask you a question. So when you're saying we got the inkjet printer, right? The one that you had recommended right. that you have. Now, if we printed on that a piece of vinyl, right? And it's not eco-solvent, you can still print on it, but what could happen if, let's just say, you get a hurricane and it rains and it's water-based ink? Is it going to run?
It'll run. It'll run. Oh, yeah, it'll run. So what you want to do is you either want to spray them with that clear, Rust-Oleum's clear 2X, UV protectant, and it seals it. Or I found this week is you can do a laminate over them. You can get just like you would laminate your driver's license, or in school we used to laminate all those letters for the bulletin board. Yes, it does. It bleeds in the rain. So if you use an inkjet printer, okay, and then you laminate it, you can do a cold laminate right over top of it. It'll protect it, and now you can use it for a long period of time. And
so
it won't.
I'm sorry. Have you used this? Have you used the spray-on sealant?
Yes, I use the spray-on right now because I just found out about lamination.
Right.
As far as because when I think of laminate, I think of laminating my driver's license, not laminating a 24 by 24 inch piece of plastic.
Laminating my fake ID.
Right. So I was researching how to do Actually, I was on the phone with a big printing company the other day, and she actually recommended laminating. She said, look into it. You should cold laminate. Stop spraying them. I was like, okay. So I went to laminator.com, and they have cold laminators, and all you do, you just shove it right through the machine. It laminates it. You trim it, and you're done. Now what you made out of an inkjet printer is going to last you much longer than using it 1 or 2 times and it fades and you got to throw it out. I mean, who wants to do that when you spend all that time?
Sure.
So, and I've got links to all that. So if you decide to do an inkjet to offer that customization, then you would want to laminate your products so they don't, like David said, they bleed.
Now, how much is a laminator?
Like $300 or $400. They'll range in price. They're super cheap. They can range in price from $100 to $800.
Got it.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool. So I thought it was kind of cool. So again, if you find an inkjet, it's not the end of the world. It's something to get you started to continue that customization. Now, as your business grows, Now you're like, I need an eco-solvent printer, man, because I want to make my own themes. I want to do this. I want to do that. So then you go and research, which is the second picture on the screen there, is a Roland eco-solvent printer.
Right.
And I actually have a page here where we'll talk about the inks and stuff like that here in a minute. The eco-solvents, UV, UV protectant. It's better for outdoors, things like that. So you want to upgrade eventually, and then you can do whatever you want. And you want it to be at least 48 inches.
Yep.
Because some of these other groups, and you know as well as I do, you can buy a file from somebody that's already putting themes together.
Yep.
$5 for the file. You got your own paper. You got your own printer. You can do pretty much like an on-demand theme. All you maybe might need is a 48-hour lead time. And somebody calls up and goes, hey, I want bulldogs in my yard, and you don't have a bulldog theme, you know. I want brilliant. 100 poop emojis. Can you put 100 poop emojis in my yard? Yeah, sure. It's going to cost you a couple $100. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do know what you mean.
Well, and that's just it. I think the yard greetings too have to have a base. If you guys, you know, we're out there doing a base, meaning having a base of numbers, anywhere from 10 to 15 flares. Mm-hmm. Anything over that, you guys, we got to start charging them. If they want 800 poop emojis in the yard and your kit only came with 9, start charging them for 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and so on. Because you deserve that money just as much. You know, I mean, you know, I want 800 flamingos.
I wish my wife was listening, because there's some nights I put 30 Flair in the yard, you know, and it gets daunting. It gets overwhelming. And I think everybody gets so excited about the creative aspect that's associated with this that you want to have more and more and more and more. And at the end of the day, you know, you're getting paid, you know, an hourly rate, you know, or a one-time fee to get all this stuff done. And you got to go there, you got to install it, you got to come back, you got to go back and pick it up, right? So when you do all the math, right, the longer you spend doing it, the less money you're making. And I think that's easily forgotten.
Right. And that's how I learned with my first yard greeting. My yard greetings came with, you know, like happy birthday, and I came with 12 smiley faces. Now, if my client called me up and said, Kelly, can you do 12 more smiley faces? Sure. But that yard greeting is going to cost you so much more.
Correct.
Because, you know, first of all, I got to make them.
Right.
And then second of all, which is time and money. And second of all, you're right. It's an extra 15 to 20 minutes to probably put them in the ground. If it's a hard ground, I'm there an hour and a half. So, yeah.
Easy. Yep. You're right.
And I've actually just, you know, raised my own prices here because I was, you know, kind of cheating myself. I've been buying all these yard greetings and only charging maybe $60, $75. You know, they're calling me on the phone now. I'm going 95. That's starting price. Right. And I just told a guy down the street, added the balloons to it, $135.
Bang.
For yard greeting and balloons.
Touchdown.
Bam. Bam. Throw some salt in there. Bam. Little emerald action going on.
Do it.
All right, let me go to the next screen. Next screen. So, and you guys, I can actually share this, you know, this presentation. I just need your email, and you guys can go in and look at it as often as you want, or you can obviously Facebook me anytime and ask any questions that you have.
That's awesome.
So real quick, I wanted to go over the types of printers, and I'm going to go over this really super quick.
Okay.
Types of printers. You have your home-based printer, which is your, you know, your
office
own home inkjet.
Yep.
Office jet, whatever. Don't forget, you can use a Silhouette and you can use a Cricut. The only thing with those is they don't go very big. They're only about 14 inches wide. Okay. So, and those are super cheap to find. They're easy to get. Facebook Marketplace has hundreds of them. And I think it's just because people don't, you know, they craft or they don't craft. It's just one of those things, you know. Those are good starters for smaller flares, customizations, things like that. If you want to make yourself a letter, then you're going to have to go with a bigger printer, you know, like a 24-inch or any wide format printer from there on. So that's basically what I'm talking about here. And I put some links in there if you're not familiar. There's some links in there to find or get more information about Silhouette and their Cameo and the Cricut, you know, pros and cons, things like that. They usually have their own software to work with, which is easy and stuff like that. And then the next screen, these are big commercial wide format printers. Some of the brand names are Roland, HP, Epson, Mutah, I think is the name. Now the ranges in size for 24 to 64, and they even get bigger than that.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to tell you guys about it because I don't think anybody needs a 110-inch printer. I mean, if you want one, go get it. Great.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
You
wrap a car with
it. Right. But so, and then I'm talking about the print width. As some of you have seen out there, we've got a lot of our other yard card family members that are selling files that are 4 foot by 8 foot, which is 48 inches by 90. I always forget. Yeah. I don't care about that part. 48 inches. So if you, yeah, I know, right? Thanks, David. 96. So you, if you want to keep buying those files, the $5 files that are out there, then you got to have at least a 48-inch printer to print them because they're not easy to maneuver her file around.
Right.
Okay. So, and you don't want to mess with that anyway because the cut lines are in there.
Yep.
You start messing with the file, you just messed it all up. You really did. Yeah. 96. Thanks, David. So stick with the 48-inch or higher. Okay. And you really don't even need to go any higher than maybe like 63 or, unless you decide you're, going, crazy.
I think 48 inch is ideal, right? And, if
ideal.
you get any bigger than
ideal
that,
for home.
then if you get any bigger than that, then you're talking about starting, maybe a print shop. You know what I mean?
Well, and keep in mind too, your printers just, when you do this, keep in mind, you're not just buying just to do your yard card stuff. You can start offering a small yard sign business for the business guy down the street who wants his gutter signs made, and Vistaprint charges him $10.50. $10.50. You might even be able to beat that price a little bit because it's local and you can print on demand for him. So you have to think outside the box. Don't just turn yourself into a yard card print shop, but you can turn yourself into, some other small community things for smaller businesses in the area. Sell yourself, if you've got it, use it.
Yep. I agree. I mean, it's just going to sit there if you don't.
Right. Yeah. Toya. Yeah. Like Cricut is 12 inches. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I did read that one of the two companies has a 14.5-inch out there. Or it's coming soon is what I heard. So that's why I kind of put that price range in there because I saw them say they had about a 14.5-inch.
Okay.
And these printers, like I said, these commercial wide format printers are easy to find on Facebook. That's how I found mine, because a lot of times graphic companies update.
Yep.
Now, I did put a link down here if you ever wanted to buy a brand new one. Oops, I'll go back. If you ever wanted to buy a brand new one, there's a link in there. A lot of these companies do them for lease and they finance them. So.
Yep. Yeah, I think
here's something that's.
Nope, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
No, I was going to say, go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is that like I was going to buy the same kind of printer that you have, right? Mm-hmm. That you showed me, and because it wasn't eco-solvent, I was concerned that I had to switch the printer heads. Anyway, what I'm learning tonight is that I can go ahead and buy that printer, and there's other things that I can attach to it that I could make what I need to get made at a much easier, more financial investment, and cover myself with either spraying on it or even laminating it. It's just great.
Right. Now, some printers can be converted from an inkjet to an eco-solvent. Not every one of them, though. So that requires additional research. If you're willing to dig the deeper to go look, great. If not, just stick with buying an eco-solvent printer. So, and the key with buying, if you do buy an inkjet, if you find yourself a nice inkjet to get yourself started, here's the key. You have to have the right paper.
Yes.
And that's what my next topic is. Cool. Types of adhesive vinyl paper. You can't just go buy, I found, this glossy adhesive sticker paper. Put it in your printer and it starts to smear. No, it doesn't work. You have to buy the paper that matches your printer type. So if you're buying an inkjet, it's a water-based ink. You got to have a water-based ink paper. If you have eco-solvent ink, you have to have an eco-solvent. There are hundreds and hundreds of varieties of paper out there. And that was something now I didn't make that mistake, but I've heard other people talk about how they did, or I've read different things where like, oh my gosh, I'm, whatever.
But it would be easy to make that mistake, right? Not knowing.
Absolutely. Especially if you don't know what you're doing. Absolutely. Right. So, and you want sticker paper or vinyl. I call it adhesive paper, you know. And for those of you that don't know, if you are calling a print company like Grimco, I have a link to another company in there too. It's called a media, you know. So if they, you know, they're talking to you and they're saying media and you're like, what? What kind of media do you want to print on? I don't know. What do you mean? TV? No.
Have you heard
Hey,
people say
Dorothy.
substrate?
Huh?
Have you heard people use substrate as the
Yes.
media? I don't even know
Right. Well,
what is
that's
this.
what you're printing.
Okay.
Substrate is like the plastic.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. It's like harder, like coffee mugs, t-shirts.
Uh-huh.
Those are considered substrates. Let's see. Dorothy says, what I've been finding on marketplace is large format equal solvent printers. Like, yes. And cheap because their print heads are, yeah, I can talk about that. Yes. I had to actually spend $100 on print heads on my new HP when I bought the HP because it would print a little, but then it wouldn't print one color. So sometimes if you do buy a used piece,
Okay.
a used printer, you might have to replace the print heads, but print heads can be cheap. $100, get brand new print heads. You're good for a year or two. Depends on how much you print.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yes, you're absolutely correct, Dorothy, is that sometimes you have to replace the print heads. And that's where I would recommend if you find a printer and you're talking to somebody about it, go down there and watch them print it. If they can't print from it, don't buy it.
Yeah, and those are great buying questions that you want to ask. You know, like I wouldn't even think, like if I saw an HP printer for $300, that'd be a home run. Like, this is great.
Right.
I'm going to buy it. It's going to be perfect. And then you get it, and then you realize that the printer heads don't work after you've tried to print paper, and you're pulling your hair out, and you realize you didn't ask the right question before you bought it. Now you've invested another $300 in the actual printer heads, right? So it's good to know that.
Right. And I actually spent like a week and a half trying to get this printer up and running because, you know, I had software issues. I'm pretty good at figuring that out. So I was able to get it working. Then as soon as I got it all up and running and was ready to print, the yellow wouldn't print because the yellow print head was all dried out. So of course that's a Google search. Like, oh crap, you know, why aren't you printing? You know, then another YouTube video later, another video later. And then I put the paper in and then it starts printing and then I get lines in the paper. That's because the printer's pulling the paper because the core's too big. You know, the core, the tube around the inside is called a core. Yeah, I know. It's a pain. So yes, I've made the mistakes. Call me first before you do anything because I've done them all. So, okay, quickly, I'll go to the next one here. But yeah, make sure you're getting the right paper. And I honestly believe that glossy paper looks best on the yard greetings. I've got a bunch of matte stuff too. And if you do print, if you like matte, great. But glossy really just gives all the yard greetings a nice little shine. So I wanted to talk about software real quick because a lot of people have asked me, well, what software are you using? I can tell you I downloaded Adobe Illustrator. Yeah, I uninstalled it the next day.
Yeah, me too. It's murder.
It's not that it's the worst. It's a great program. It's just if you are software tarded,
yes,
you know, you just have trouble with software tarded. I couldn't think of any other word. If you have trouble, then it is very difficult to use. And many other yard carters people that I have talked to said the same thing. It's difficult to use. It takes time, and there's a monthly fee for that. It wasn't cheap. It's like $20. Yeah, thanks, David.
Well, you know, it's funny. I spent the last 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Someone said, "Don't worry about Illustrator. Go get Corel Draw." And Corel Draw, I can, believe it or not, after maybe 2 weeks, and I'm not talking like a couple hours a day. I'm talking like all day. You know, I had to figure out how to use all of that, and if you don't have the time to figure that out, it's daunting. It's like learning a whole new language, really, at the end of the day. It is. And you're going to have to spend time trying to understand how it all works.
Well, and here's the key. If you're printing at home, you've got your 48-inch printer, you got your brand new theme, you all drew it out, you go to print it, and you're like, well, why didn't it cut? Well, because it's not a combination printer cutter. That's another thing you want to look for. You want that printer that's going to do both print it for you, then it goes back. They actually make special sticker printers. Then it goes back and it actually cuts it for you. Well, now you've got to add a cut line to your image. Does anybody really know how to add a cut line to your image? I didn't until the a few weeks back.
Yep.
So that way the printer can read where you want it cut. Now, if you take it out of your printer and put it in a vinyl cutter, which you can do, you've got to send the information from your software to now your cutter so that it prints it correctly there, or you've just wasted all that paper if it cuts it wrong.
Correct.
So the big key here is if you do look for printers and you want to try to find something like the Rollin printer that I'm looking at is both a printer and a cutter. So I don't have to worry about buying a separate floor cutter.
That's awesome.
Like, something else.
Yeah.
Like a vinyl cutter. So, and then right now I'm using the Sir Cuts a Lot software.
I have the same
and
one.
I really like it. It's easy. It's so easy. Very easy, but it doesn't print as big. It'll go 48 inches, but it only goes 72 inches long.
Yep.
So you can't, so you have to cut several different sheets.
Correct.
So I wanted to at least bring that out there. And I forgot about Corel Draw.
I like it.
Really
it's just really easy. And when you said you got to do another Google search, one of the things that's so frustrating is what I might think is an outline and it's easy to describe. The industry coins that term as a contour, right? So if I'm doing a Google search on how do you create an outline in Corel Draw, all of the searches pull up stuff that is not have anything to do with what I'm trying to figure out. And you get, you get frustrated. So
it's a foreign language. It literally is.
It's a totally different language.
Right. It's like speaking French. Like what? What's contour cut mean? Well, now I know.
Right.
So, yeah. So let's talk about inks for a minute. And we've been talking about it a little bit on and off. I kind of put the definitions in there for you this time. I put the link of the source down in the bottom left-hand corner. So again, a lot of inkjets, they're basically water-based. And I did bold a little bit. These types of inks fade very quickly, which I've had a couple of my pieces fade very quickly. And the sun is, we know, brutal, even though it's Mother Nature and she's kind to us. And then, of course, they're not waterproof. So you would definitely have to use something that we've talked about. You have to seal it. Solvent inks are what we really want to look for. They don't use water at all. And so they are waterproof. They're UV resistant. And, of course, the biggest benefit of having a solvent ink is that it holds up quite well in all those conditions. Snow, sleet, rain, indoor, outdoor. And, of course, the UV is the same thing. Like you asked earlier, what is UV? It actually cures the ink with a UV light. And that's where you get a good, a nice, really good solid print. And then there's latex. Latex is from what I'm reading, latex ink is fairly new, not like within the year, but they're still trying to figure out. The problem with latex is that it's not environmentally friendly and it stinks from what I'm understanding. So I just touched base on that a little bit.
Okay.
And I've already kind of talked about that. The pros and cons of an inkjet printer, a lot of it is you have to coat your Flair. And you're going to have to use a laminating machine if you want to use an inkjet to get you started. And I put in here the cold method. And I have a link to laminator.com in there because that's a good place to buy a new laminator and get all your laminating paper or your laminating stuff. So,
did you tell me the last time we chatted that there's waterproof vinyl? Like if you were going to use a water-based ink, that you could buy a waterproof vinyl that when it prints the ink on it, it'll be waterproof and won't run. Is that the right?
Well, it seems what I'm finding is that with inkjet printers or inkjet inks, you can find a water resistant paper. Now the paper I have is water resistant.
Okay.
But I'm also finding too that if it's raining too much, it'll run. It'll bleed. It's awful. Okay. You still have to coat it. Okay. So I just coat it to be on the safe side. Makes sense. And it's hard, especially with the size printer that I have, a 24-inch. It's hard to find paper and the stuff that I need because 24 inches is no longer the industry standard. Right. 36 and even going up into the 40s as far as inches in the printer is more of a standard today. And that's why, I was able to get my printer super cheap.
Yep.
So, but I did find a website that has 24-inch paper finally. So I'm going to order some from them and check it out.
Please do.
So if you guys are ordering some of your own clip art to print, a lot of times people are like, okay, where are you getting the clip art then? How are you, you can either draw if you're good. or Etsy. A lot of those people, especially in the different yard card groups that are selling files, basically what they're doing is they're going to Etsy, they're buying a clip art file for a theme. And as you can see, I've got a couple themes going on there on the bottom screen. And then they're just putting it in a 4x8 software measured out sheet, and they're printing it. So you're spending $3 for clip art. Like the little monster guys over there to the left. I mean, I think the lady who makes that charges $1.50 for clip art, and you can get clip art cheap. The little koala bears in the middle, I shared with one of our sign fairies because she was looking for koala bears. And then the one on the right is the one I actually designed out on the Sir Cuts-a-Lot, which was a military theme.
I love it.
I paid $1.50 for the clip art. I was able to resize it in the software, and that could be a whole nother live stream someday.
Oh my God, you got that
talk about how to size, how to size and put, your cut lines around it. But that was the one I did, one of the ones I did. So it's cheap. I mean, if a client calls you up, like the Cleveland Browns in the football, I didn't have a sports package, and I sure as heck didn't have anything Cleveland Browns related.
Right.
So I immediately went and bought a $3 clip art. I was able to size it the way I wanted, print, boom, done. Nice. So,
yeah. And I think you're right. I think that there should be a whole different live stream on, like, for example, when I buy art for my Sure Cuts-a-Lot software that specifically I use to cut my vinyl, right? I have to buy a vector image, right? So, but when I take that same vector image and I put it into Corel Draw, it doesn't accept the vector image as well as it would if it was accepting a PDF, right? So, and when you export these things, you don't save them, you actually export them. And that in and of itself is, what size, and, I was talking to David just the other day, like, what size image do you want to have, for a file? I mean, even just putting a file when we're making this live stream and I want to have an image that we put on here, there's a specific file. It's 2000 by 630 pixels. Like, what's a pixel, right? And then then you do it that way. So there's just so much to learn. There's so much you could do wrong, right? And it's never as easy as you think it might be.
No, it's not. I've spent hours sitting in this chair cussing and swearing because, like, all I want you to do is print. Why can't you just print for me? Why can't you just, all I wanted was this image in the thing, and I just want you to go from here to my printer. And then so I could do what I want to do. And it's, I mean, you fight, you kick. They're like kids. A printer. I don't never have good luck with printers, apparently.
Oh my God.
But and every time you change a clip art file too, if you go in and go into Paint and try to make it or cut something out, it changes it. It's no longer transparent.
Correct.
So there's a lot to learn. But if you're just taking a clip art, making it bigger and printing it from there, you're just fine. You're getting what you want. Boom, you made your customer happy. Boom, it's all over.
Correct.
Yes.
But I think it's fair to say that it is something that if you're going to do, just be prepared. Have the expectation that it's not going to be something that you're going to figure out in an hour unless you're a genius and a software developer, right? And that you're going to get frustrated. And obviously, there's folks like you and I where we can answer questions like that. But,
absolutely.
It is something that I like to do. I know you like to do. And you got to go into it with the expectation that you might spend 3 hours trying to figure out how to put a period at the end of a sentence when you think it's something so easy, right?
Right. And even David mentioned here too that file prep is the biggest nightmare for people when they want to try to do this. And I know I ran into that same issue, David. It was, I'm like, what the heck am I doing? In fact, one of my very first themes was a wedding theme I put together. So what happens is your image is in a square when you put it in the thing, right? So it's in this square. Your image is in this square. So when you make the square bigger, it makes the image bigger. Okay. But what's happening is that it measures it based on the square, not the image. So all my images were smaller than they should have been. They should have been bigger.
Yes.
And I kept telling myself, I'm like, okay, why aren't these bigger? Why aren't these bigger? Well, I was sizing into proportion the grid line in the software to go, okay, now I want this 7 inches wide by 14 inches long. It was actually a 5 by 11 instead. I'm like, what the heck? So yeah, those are all different things you learn. But yes, see, so now that I know, I'll be able to make them better and bigger, and things like that. And then sometimes too, what I'll do is I'll go to other yard card websites to see if they've got the measurements of the different Flair, so that I have a better understanding of how big I want to make something.
Yes.
Like I made a honk. The lady wanted me to put the word honk in the birthday setup, and I didn't have a smaller one. I just had my really super big one. So I made a small one, which was about 21.5 by 10 inches. Turned out great. So I was like, yes, awesome. I'm getting it. So,
and it's
here's another page on where to buy vinyl and laminate, huh?
No, I was just saying it's a learning curve. But
yeah, there we go. Q&A. Questions. It is a learning curve. And, and this is just the start. Printer, again, the biggest part's going to be your printer. If you are serious about printing out of your home and you want to go with something more of a wide format printer, yes, you can go with an inkjet. It's just you got some extra prep to do to keep it nice. Because the last thing you want is to take something to your client's house and they call you up the next day and go, the clip art on here is running. It's ugly. You need to come pick this up.
Right. You contaminated my yard and my trees are yeah. Well, I think it's important to mention that if anybody, is seriously considering, the printers, which I hope you all are, if I don't have an answer, we have resources within the Sign Fairy group that we can reach out to get an answer for you. So don't be concerned that you're not going to be able to figure it out on your own. I mean, well, everybody's gone through this.
It's really not that hard.
And it's not that hard.
Right.
We're making
it's really not hard. Yeah, it's not.
It is. But it is something that you just want to be cognizant of. It's all about the expectation, right? All right, so let's ask questions. I think, a lot of people have a lot of really good questions. I know that there's questions that have been asked. So, you know what? If you guys got questions, put them in the comments, and then I'll tee them up to Kelly. I know she can see them, but if she gets overwhelmed, we're going to have to, to slow it down. But here's one question that Armando had, which is, and I don't know the answer to this, maybe David does, but what does a printer head actually do?
So the printer head actually, well, it's so you've got a couple different, especially with these bigger printers, you have two places, sometimes even three, where your ink comes from. So like on my HP, the ink comes from the back. Okay. So then what happens is that you're not going to be able to draw ink from that all the time. So what happens is on the HP is that the printer head actually holds a little bit of ink, and it kind of fills, it's like a little reservoir. So you got your lake, and then you got your reservoir of ink. And then but they dry out, they wear out because they've got all those little nodes and all that little copper thing on there. Sometimes they get clogged because they're going back and forth 100 times. So those actually fill up with a little bit of ink. Now, some printers only have one print head. Some printers have 4. Some have 6. You're not going to know until you see what type of printer you have. Because some printers will have different types of, you could put like, your lake has 8 sets of ink back there. 2 blue, 2 yellow, 2 magenta, 2 black. So that, it doesn't run out in the middle of your printing. It's crazy how much and some of these reservoirs are really super huge.
Sure.
So it's basically your lake and your reservoir, lake and your pond.
Yeah, I love it. Perfect analogy. It's based on the machine and the number of colors.
And the number of colors, right? Because some machines have more colors. That was something I learned too. Like the CMYK. That the 4 colors of an inkjet that we're all just usually used to, there are more on top of that. I'm like, what? I didn't know that. Right. And there's, so not many more, but there's more.
Because we just need to make it more complicated than it already is.
Yeah, sure. It can't be as simple as black, red, blue, and yellow.
No, it can't. Or the primary color.
Or magenta.
Right. Exactly. Magenta. Exactly. All right. Who else?
No, it's my magenta. It was my magenta print head that actually blew up on me. It was all over the package and everything. It was crazy. Anybody else have any questions?
Who else has got questions?
I hope I kind of opened up an idea that it can be done. You know,
Yes.
I mean, I know there's been a few in the group that I was discouraged too. You know, they come out and say, well, you need an eco-solvent printer. I'm like, do you know how much those are? You know,
the same way.
I'm like, okay.
No, it can't be that way. It has to be easier.
Right. And you know what? And they have them and they're beautiful. And I wish I had one.
Yeah.
And, but, oh, excuse me. Sorry. You know, like I said, I wanted to start with something small and work my way up to something bigger.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it. Because if you make a mistake, it's a $300 mistake, not a $5,000 mistake.
Not a 5,000 or 10,000. Right. And then you're like, I don't want this anymore. And then like either you're stuck with a printer or you can't sell it. I'm like, you know, or it goes in the garage and then you try to sell it and yeah.
All right,
Gina has, so does the Sure Cuts a lot, for example, have stuff that can make the glitter sparkle? Yes. So I finally figured that out, Gina. And let me tell you what, it's cool it's cool. So what you do in Sure Cuts a lot, I wonder if I could can I still share my screen?
Yeah.
Or we can work on it one-on-one. So yes, Gina, what you can do is you create your word in your Sure Cuts a lot and it hollows out your letter. It like hollows it out. Then you go under your color fill. So what I did is I bought some glitter background, you know, that from Etsy, you know, it's clip art. So then what I did is I went into the color fill of how I want my wording to be. And then you fill it. But here's the kicker. You actually have to make it, there's a way for you to actually make it bigger so that it zooms in on the glitter of the background and then it goes into the word. So if that made any sense whatsoever. But yes, you can do that.
What's interesting too is that I have not figured that out in Sure Cuts a lot. But in Corel Draw, it's called Power Clip. And basically what you do is you take your image, right? And then you, under effects, you hit power clip and then the cursor will change and it will prompt you to click on where you want that actual image to go. And if you do it on the actual letter, the art, the file that you've clicked will show up behind the letter, which gives you that glossy image that you're talking about.
Right. Hold on 1 second. I'll show you something I made. It'll take me 2 seconds to get it.
Do it. Yes, so Armando, those links that I put in my videos, hold on, Kelly. Those links that I put in the videos are the vinyl that comes with the vinyl that comes with my with my US cutter plotter that I bought. And that is, I forget the name of it. It's like, it starts with the green. It's not Greenpeace, but those links will take you to Amazon. It will take you to the store, the US cutter store, where they will offer that vinyl for you. All right, so that's where you can purchase it. So that's what those links will take you. But go ahead, Kelly, go.
Okay, so I made this honk yesterday. Okay, in my Sure Cuts a lot. Can you guys see?
Ooh, yeah. I love it.
So and it has a glitter background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like the same as our glitter letters would be when when you buy a glitter set or whatnot. You know, so I made this in Sure Cuts a lot. So what I did is I took the Lucky Guy font.
Yep.
I typed in the word honk. I made it as big as I wanted to make it in the system. You know, I made it like, I think this is a 22 by 10. Then what I did is I went under the color section, just like if you were to change the color in a Word document. It's the same thing. So if you were to change, you don't want black lettering, you wanted red lettering. Oh, there we go.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So same thing, but instead of doing a color, you actually want to give it a fill. So you know how like sometimes you see that there's a fill? Then I actually had to go in. I actually had to go and find the glitter artwork that I had bought, and I wanted it to be black. I made a blue one yesterday. And then I changed it, and it gave it all the glitter, but I wanted the glitter to show more.
Yes.
It was so pixely.
Uh-huh.
So there's a way to actually enlarge
Yes.
the glitterish, and it made it really super big, and I made it like a 20 by 20, and this is the glitter I got. So so now I can make my own letters.
I know, isn't that awesome? And I finally figured out how to do that in Corel Draw, and it's awesome. It really is. And when you kind of break through what you're talking about, and you are able to figure it out, it further expands your creativity and your ability to do much more than just a yard sign.
I found the glitter images off of Etsy. So when you want to buy different clip art, you can actually go to Etsy.com. And so let's say you want something new, okay, like sparkle letters. You wanted to write out or anything, just type in, like in this case, I typed in glitter backgrounds because I just wanted the background color. I didn't want I didn't want their letters. I wanted the background so that I could do, and you can actually buy just different colors of glitter background. They're small squares, and you use them for backgrounds in your web design or papers or whatever you're designing. And I think it was $3 and I got like 50 colors or something. It was something crazy. And I blew it up. I actually made the pixels bigger. We might have to do a sure cuts a lot.
I think that's a great idea. I think we really should. I could do a Corel
cuts a lot. How to make a honk sign. Honk honk.
Honk honk. Right? Hey, so one of the questions are the vinyl that you're talking about that you could use to print the with the water-based ink. Can you buy that on Amazon?
You know what? I bought a roll, and then everybody started buying a roll when I bought it on Amazon, but that I wouldn't. I'm actually looking into a better roll of ink because this was a water. It worked. It did what I wanted it to do, but as you can see, we sprayed it here on the bottom, and it started to. And I don't have this on Coroplast, and I think that's what the problem was. The best thing to do is print, cut, put it on Coroplast, cut your Coroplast out, and then spray it because it started to curl. So those are all just different. And this will go on Coroplast just fine. It's just, I think the best thing to do is if you're going to use inkjet and you want to print, you want to put it on Coroplast first and then spray it or laminate it after that.
Yeah.
So that it looks really pretty. There's the link to Etsy. Basically I just type in what I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for background clip art, I just type in background clip art. If I'm looking for koala bears, koala baby, the talent that's out there is amazing. The thing you've got to look out for is this. You need to make sure that if you're buying clip art from Etsy, you need to make sure that you can use the clip art for commercial use.
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of them will let you do it because you're a small business. You're renting. You're not necessarily reproducing their clip art into T-shirts and mugs and earrings and all that stuff. We are using the clip art to print and do a yard greeting, and you're doing something different with it, so you can still use it for small commercial use. Some will make you pay a license. It's in their description.
So I know that when I went to Vector Stock and used Vector Stock images. There are two types of licenses, and you have to buy credits in order to get access to vector files that artists are offering. And there's one license that, like you said, will allow you to print it and put it on, Coroplast or do whatever. But there's a second license that's obviously more expensive that you can use to reproduce to make the T-shirts that you're talking about. So you don't want to get into a spot where you bought one of these things and then you put it on a mug and then for whatever reason it goes viral and then you get a phone call from somebody at Vector Art saying, "Hey, show me your license that you have in order to print that."
Right. And a lot of times, I mean, and now that discussion was brought up too, because, copyright issues with Disney and stuff like that. I know that's, I don't want to say a sore subject, but you can get Disney clip art and stuff like that. You just have to read the description and see if it works for you. The worst that's going to happen, most likely, is you'll get a cease and desist. Stop
Right.
using the product. That's the first step in a lawsuit, really. Stop what you're doing. Stop using our clip art. I just sent you a link on many digital paper. They're called digital papers is what they're called. Like background clip art, digital paper. But I sent you guys a link there. That's just a sample of different things that you can get. I mean, for like a couple bucks, you can get 60 colors, or I got glitter balloons, I got glitter stars, I got glitter presents. I've probably spent about $100 in clip art, and I probably have over 50 files. It's super cheap. And in fact, I bought this one wedding clip art that I was doing a wedding, and then found out that one of the other one of the ladies in one of the other yard card groups, she had the same clip art and already had it all mapped out and stuff. And for $100, I could have just saved myself some time and bought that and had them printed up. But I like doing it. It's fun.
I do too. It's kind of like a creative little bug that bites, and then you incorporate technology and software, and you kind of get into this. You just kind of forget about stuff for a while.
Right.
I know that's what I found.
I told you it's all your fault. I'm in trouble over here.
I know. I love it. I love that you're going mad about it. It's crazy. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
All right, listen, I think we're coming up on, an hour and 10
an hour
minutes.
and 10.
Hour and 10. So I want to be respectful of your time.
I'm good. I ain't going. I don't have a job. Are you kidding me? I don't work tomorrow. I do have a job.
I got to go install a welcome back sign at a school. So and they want like 5 of them. So it's high class problems for sure. But
does anybody else have any questions?
Yes.
And if you can't think of anything tonight, and if you're sleeping, you wake up at 3 a.m., just Facebook message me. I get all my messages. The weekends I don't look at them as much because I like to spend time with the honey. But come tomorrow morning, I'll be reading all of them. Don't forget, I'm doing a balloon thing again. Another balloon. Of those of you that got balloons from me last time, we're doing another round of balloons October 5th. So again, another upsell to your yard greeting.
Yeah,
I did one over the weekend. It looked great.
I gotta blow up all my balloons. I got them all.
Yeah, so they're fun. I was cussing and swearing yesterday though. Couldn't get them in the.
I bet you were. All right, listen, Kelly Hawkins, you're the best. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
No, thank you, because you have really. And not just for myself, and I'm sure you've really inspired a lot of people who have been doing this for a while to step up, or people that are just like, this is the coolest thing ever. And, you're teaching a lot of people, and I can't thank you enough. So you're awesome.
I think it's all about meeting awesome people and, giving back in some way. And if any of the stuff that we've shared can help people make a little extra money to buy, an extra set of groceries or whatever, that is just, it's perfect. It's what I want, and I love it. Believe it or not, I really do. I do love it. And
our payment.
I want to, yeah, exactly. I want everybody to have an opportunity to make extra money if they need to. And, that would just be a great thank you in return. So, let me just say this. I do appreciate everything. I think that we need to have you back on here again, maybe do like a shortcuts a lot thing where we could both do something, because I can do some Corel Draw stuff. Like, I think that would be good so that we can build on this. But, this has been awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, because there's a lot more to learn. And, this is just the tip of that iceberg. I mean, really, especially if you want to get to this point where you want to do this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, it is. And I would invite everybody to dive in, because it's only going to get better, and you're only going to learn more, and you're just going to get more educated in the market, and you can provide more custom solutions. Upsell.
Mm-hmm.
Double what you're making, right? So it'll be that much more worth it. All right. Well, Hawkins, I'm going to say I can't wait to connect with you again. You are an absolute
Thank
beast.
you, everybody.
And I will upload this to YouTube so everybody can take a look at it. And we'll connect real soon about building on top of what we've already done. And have an awesome rest of your night.
Yes, and like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to PM me, and I'll answer as much as I can.
You're the best.
Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.